The Republic of South Africa is certainly not what many people would characterise as a typical African country. Yes, there's still poverty and the shanty towns, but in the new South Africa, the likes of Johannesburg, Durban, Port Elizabeth, Pretoria and Cape Town are emerging as world-class cities in their own right, complete with world-class facilities, including some of the most up-to-date telecoms infrastructure available anywhere. And that success is having a knock-on effect into rural regions and through the greater South African economy. The country is enjoying an unprecedented economic boom. The value of the rand is on the rise, more and more jobs are being created, and the stock market is climbing. Much of this growth is the direct result of the country's investment in telecoms and an awareness that telecoms is a major driver of economic development. Jay Naidoo, currently chairman of the Development Bank of Southern Africa, and the man who, as Minister of Post and Telecommunications in President Nelson Mandela's first administration, set the modernisation process in train, explains that much of the current growth is down to the runaway success of the mobile sector.
We had never anticipated in the past that there would be such a massive and phenomenal growth in the mobile sector. And so we must learn from those lessons as well. We made some policy mistakes because we thought every person should have a fixed line. Whereas many people today, they choose to have a mobile phone. It's portable, it's easy, it's user-friendly, and it allows you to stay in touch with your family, in your work, in your office. So I think those are things that I see today, is that we're looking at telecommunications as a key driver for economic growth and development.
Senior figures within the telecoms industry and the analyst and vendor communities too all agree that affordable mobile comms can spur economic growth and help bridge the digital divide across the whole of sub-Saharan Africa.
Is there the growth in the market? Well, absolutely. I think Africa and sub-Saharan Africa is one of the fastest growing telecoms markets on the planet today. What we project out for the next few years, 3 or 4 years, is an increase of another 100 million subscribers in sub-Saharan Africa. So this is 100 million customers out of a population of 760 million people. And well behind that, that will change the face of how Africa moves in terms of where the digital divide is destined to go. This is a long journey. I think it's not so much about reaching an end point, it's about taking the step forward.
The challenge and the opportunity is definitely to grow the penetration rate in these countries which are developing, and so we need to make our services more affordable to more people.
Well, we are very much committed to offering the affordable mobile handset for the consumers. And it's not only the handset cost, but it's the total cost of ownership of it, which is very important for us.
In South Africa, we're seeing a lot more moving into the rural areas, moving into the lower end of the market, so your lower income, lowering the value of the denominations. So Cell C led that last year, moving from 30 Rand to 5 Rand. But that's not just South Africa, that's the same trends in the rest of Africa. It is more a trend of just increasing the reach to increase your penetration.
There are also several global initiatives championed by the ITU and industry organisations such as the GSM Association that call for suppliers, vendors and operators to work together to bring down the price of mobile handsets to levels that the non-affluent mass population can afford. Meanwhile, the easy availability of prepay subscriptions is boosting the proliferation of mobile comms across South Africa.
The important thing is to get the shelf price of phones down. And that's what makes a difference. When the customer walks into a shop, they can eventually afford it. So yes, we are in the area of the sub-$40 retail selling price, or what I call the shelf price or the store price. So that's a reality today, and it's working.
Today, if you look at it, of the over 25 million subscribers in South Africa, I would say close to 80% of it is prepaid. So those innovations have been important in taking services and telecommunications not just to the economic elite of our country, but to persons selling vegetables on the side of the street, to a farmer who uses cellular technology to phone the marketplace in the big towns and find out the prices so that they have more bargaining power. And that itself has substantially increased his or her profits. So it's had a fundamental impact. And that impact is demonstrated in the fact that it's contributed significantly to the economic growth we're seeing.
A lot of the African countries, because of the nature of them being underdeveloped and with the number of people, if you look at the income per capita of these countries, you find that it's relatively low compared to the developed countries. So as a method of managing credit risk for the mobile operators as well, you tend to find that if it's prepaid, it's paid upfront. So there's no credit risk that they're taking on.
Thierry Minard of Gemplus provides a real-life example of how small entrepreneurs can make money for themselves and at the same time create much-needed jobs by the clever use of mobile, while Andy Minard of Glenair reveals that work is being done on providing messaging applications for communities that can't even afford a mobile handset.
The idea is quite simple. It's just to use a mobile phone as a payphone. In other words, allowing dealers all over the territory of a given country to use their mobile phone as a payphone. Namely, an end user can come and see those guys use the phone by paying X amount of money for X amount of time whatsoever. And this is extremely interesting because it gives the possibility to pass calls to the very, very low-end part of the given community. And as well, at the same time, it creates quite a lot of jobs. And we are very happy to serve the community through that.
We're designing applications at the moment, and we'll be working closely with MTN on being able to provide messaging solutions for people that can't even afford to own a phone. So community messaging applications.
And while much emphasis today is on bringing mobile comms to the bulk of the population, it should also be remembered that South Africa is an advanced industrial society where fully fledged 3G services have now been available for quite some time. Furthermore, as prices fall and incomes rise, increased uptake of 3G is guaranteed.
The level of depth and penetration that 3G is going to experience is going to increase quarter on quarter, month on month. And why I say this, technology's pricing moves on a negative price erosion curve, so it's becoming more affordable.
3G essentially is an advanced service, but it's amazing. The cost of making 3G calls is very similar to the cost of making a normal voice call. So even on the MTN network, prepaid subscribers have access to services such as 3G calling and video mail. Obviously, they need to be able to afford to own the handset, which at this time is dropping quite rapidly in price.
Massive, massive, massive potential across Africa, not only for voice services, but also for data, for high-speed data services. Ultimately, 3G will become one of the more dominant services on our network.
We can already see from some of the consumer studies that consumers in Africa are looking for this type of features. They are interested in entertainment features, stylish products, 3G applications in their phone. They're already looking for the 3G phones, although the network doesn't necessarily support it today. So the interest is definitely there among consumers.
Local fixed line telco has a lot of trouble getting lines out, particularly to remote and rural areas. And so 3G has been proliferated by this.
So, whilst in telecoms, the first 5 years of democratic South Africa were about providing basic services to the previously dispossessed, the emphasis now is about making the country more competitive in the global environment and providing applications that will allow the poorest in South Africa to have a real stake in society and the rapidly expanding South African economy.
The first 5 years was about delivering telecommunications to those that had no access to it. It was universal service. What we're seeing in this period, it's about driving business costs down and using telecommunications to make our economy more competitive in a global environment where competition and the quality of your products and services is the deciding factor. So the emphasis today is about telecommunications as a critical driver of economic growth and making us more competitive. And it's also about looking at applications that are going to look at the lowest quintile of the population. And there you're looking at how does one use mobile technology to make the unbanked bankable.